Just going back to Rotogravure and I'll Still Love You. George and Ringo briefly fell out over that song and the way it was recorded. What was
Yeah,
the real
that's
reason
cool.
they fell out? What was going on in the background?
Um, well, I think it gets back to Maureen, doesn't it?
Hmm.
You know, it gets back to an emotional state between the two of them.
Right.
Um,
But they
but
soon patched things up.
yeah, it was sort of a spat, and then it was, let's lick each other's fur.
It is a beautiful song. I really love that song. I don't think
Oh,
anyone's really done it justice, though. It's
it's an
Ringo
anthem.
George.
Yeah, it's an anthem. It is a beautiful song.
The guys that, sorry.
Talking of beautiful songs, Nancy, there's a certain song on side one of Ring of the Fourth where it's definitely the last verse is about you. Now I sit here with a couple of beers, wondering how I've lasted all of these years. You're beside me and it feeling so right. I'd like to thank you for the rest of my life. 'Cause I
Oh,
it's just brilliant. I love that song.
oh, which song is that?
Gave it all up.
Oh, Gave It All Up. Yeah. God, I haven't thought about that in decades. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. God, we were living in such wonderful, wonderful, magical times back then. There was so much being written that was just so beautiful, and the music was so still stands the test of time, doesn't it?
I think Ring
Yeah,
of the Fourth is very underrated. I think it's a really groovy
I
album. In fact,
agree. I agree.
I call those three albums the Nancy Andrews trilogy, the Rotter River, Ring of the Fourth, and Bad Boy. And that's actually my favorite of the three, which is not most people's, but it's mine.
Yeah, yeah.
And how did
Bad
the
Boy.
cover for Ringo the Fourth come about? That's, I think, Rita Wolf is on top of Ringo in that shot.
My girlfriend Rita Wolf. Yeah, it would be me, but I was taking the photo, and she. As everybody says, is that you on his shoulders? And I'm going, well, metaphorically, yes. But we were staying at the Plaza Hotel, and my girlfriend Cherry Vanilla. I don't know if you're familiar with Cherry Vanilla. She was one of Andy Warhol's girls. I knew her when she was Kathy Doherty. God, she just had her 80th birthday. I was invited to go to Palm Springs, but can't make this one. She's a girl who was very, very naughty, as you can imagine, being a Warhol. Yeah.
That's what you say.
She had the great saying. I guess I can say it here. Although we're being filmed, should I say it? It's kind of naughty.
Go for it.
Up to you. Up to you, Nancy.
Okay. She said, "It's all in your head. Not the kind you have, but the kind you give."
There's a walk
So
on the
anyway,
wild side.
she said, we were having breakfast, and my girlfriend Rita was in town. We just gone through that huge snowstorm, and Richard was saying, "Well, I don't know what to do for a name for this album." And so I said, "Well, it's your fourth one." He goes, "Yeah." And so Rita happened to say, she said, "Well, we think of you as King Ringo." And he goes, "Ah, we'll call it Ringo the Fourth." And that's the way it happened. So then he goes, let's go fucking medieval on this cover. Let's go medieval." And I said, "Medieval?" I said, like swords and chainmail and all of that. He goes, "Yeah." So I called up Cherry, and Cherry said, "Oh, let me take you down to this prop house my friend has downtown." So Rita and I and her went down to this prop house, and I brought back chainmail and the sword and the shield. We just brought a whole bunch of crap back to the hotel. And in our hotel suite, there was like a walk-in closet that was totally empty. It didn't even have any poles in it. I mean, it was just like a big walk-in closet, which now would be a one-bedroom in Manhattan. And so I said, "Well, I'll just bounce the light off in here." And he goes, "Yeah." He said, we'll just shoot it in here. This will be fine." I said, "It'd be like a big white light box." He goes, "Yeah, we can do that." And that's how it came about. And in fact, on the album, the book that you have, The Dust of Rock and Roll, on the boards, as you open it up, I have all the outtakes
Yep.
from, and you know, he's sitting on a pillow on top of the Plaza Hotel wastebasket.
Yeah. He's not looking too happy though, I have to say. Or maybe a little tight. I don't know.
Well, he kept saying his ass was hurting. This wasn't comfortable, and I said, oh, just a few more, you know, 5 rolls of film later.
Yeah.
But there's some where he's really hysterical. Anyway, we got the film back and we went, these are fun, and that's how it happened.
Brilliant. And the picture of you and Paul and Linda with Ringo in New York City, 1977. Can you tell us the story about that one?
That was crazy. We were walking down Fifth Avenue. It was a beautiful spring day, and we were going to go to Tiffany because the boy likes his jewelry. And we're walking down Fifth Avenue, and all of a sudden we hear Ringo, Ringo. And I go to turn around. He goes, don't turn around. And he says, just a fan, don't turn around. And I said, I don't know. And I hear Ringo. And I turned around and I said, oh my God, it's Paul. He goes, what? And they were across Fifth Avenue and they came across the traffic. And the paparazzi had been following Paul and Linda. And we all locked arms and we're walking down Fifth Avenue. And this wonderful photographer took that photo of us. I look like something out of like a Bedouin movie. She looks like a Bay City roller. You know, it's like, it was one of these crazy pictures, but I love that picture.
Brilliant.
It must have attracted a huge crowd.
Yeah.
It did. And thank God we were just a block away from the plaza where we were staying, because we just sort of quickly hop skipped over there and had some tea and sandwiches. Yeah.
Did Ringo generally have that response to fans? Was it something which made him uncomfortable, something which he didn't like? You know, the idea that people were kind of constantly following him or trying to get his attention, wanting autographs in restaurants and things like that. Was it something that he was?
A lot of the times, yeah. I think what really made him more nervous, this is before we lost John, was the fact of not being in a controlled environment. You know, being around fans in a controlled environment, but being on Fifth Avenue, you know, and having suddenly someone says, oh my God, and then a few photographers are snapping, and then suddenly people around you start to see, and then they go, oh my God, it's the Beatles, you know, and then it's like, gotta go. So we just sort of skipped away. Yeah, I mean, I remember when we first got together, we would be in a restaurant and he'd be putting food in his mouth and someone would come over and go, oh God, can I have your autograph? And he'd go, fuck off.
Terrible.
Saying that, fuck off, I'm eating me dinner. Yeah. But other than that, you know, a lot of times he would sign stuff for people, especially kids.
Yeah.
Love to do it for kids, younger kids. You know, he would stop and sign for them.
And did he ever do your hair at all?
What?
Did he ever do your hair at all? Because he wanted to be a hairdresser originally, and that was his major.
No.
You wouldn't let him anywhere near your hair.
He never. We were in Germany, and Patty Harrison said to me, "Oh, you must go see this fabulous." She had had a perm done on her hair. Why I thought I needed a perm. I have curly hair. And she said, you must go see Marlis Mueller. And I went, oh, so while he was doing something, I went to see Marlis Mueller. And I don't know what this freaking woman did. When she was finished, it looked like she rolled my hair on toothpicks. It was so tight and kinky that my hair was down to here. And when she got through, it was up to here. It was like I could pull it out and it would go back. And I remember then they're looking at her going, can you relax it? She goes, oh yeah, I'll put a relaxer in it. Didn't really do much, not much at all. And I was crying, and I remember calling Richard back at the hotel and going, they've ruined my hair, my beautiful hair. And he's going, leave there. I said, well, I've got to pay her 300 krona or something. It's like a huge, ridiculous amount of money like going to see Vidal Sassoon in Manhattan. And he said, fuck them, don't pay it. And I'm going, I'm not going to walk out of here. He goes, I'll send a car. Just run and jump in the car. And I'm going, no, no. So anyway, I paid the woman and left. And God, if only we had Yelp then, right? I'd give her a review. And so I got back to the hotel and he goes, what happened to your hair? And I said, look at this. Boing. So I called the hairdresser in the hotel and she came up and she started putting all this cream and stuff on it. Got it to relax some, but it took about 1.5 years to grow out. I kept cutting it off as it grew. It's terrible. So that's the only thing to do with my hair and Ringo. He just kept saying, your beautiful hair. And I said, do you still love me? He goes, yeah. We're fine.
I guess that kind of evened out the absinthe incident for Ringo a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. That was after the absinthe incident. Absolutely. That was well after that, I think.
What did Ringo think of his depiction in the Ruttles as Barry Barrington Womble?
Oh, he loved it. He loved it. He such fans of English humor. I mean, Monty Python, we were in front of that TV, or catching it somehow, or, back then it was like the Betamax. Remember the Betamax?
Mm.
Yeah.
We would have like the housekeeper tape it on the Betamax.
And when you were in New York City, did you and Ringo just pop over to the Dakota, or did you have to phone ahead to visit John and Yoko?
We went over to the Dakota and visited. Yeah, Sean was really little, and we had dinner there. We went over. John, it was during his baking bread in time.
Yeah.
So we were like hanging out in the kitchen while he made bread. He was showing me how to knead dough. And then we would go out. One night we went out to one of their favorite Chinese restaurants. It's a
Mr. Chow's?
What?
Was it Mr. Chow's?
I don't know what the name of it was. You probably know better than me. I don't know. And they took a picture of us, the four of us in the street. It was at night. There's some picture somewhere. And I'm still wearing my Moroccan cape. But we went into this Chinese restaurant and it was really great because it was just a little hole in the wall that they loved, and had about like 8 tables. And they would put one of their waiters at the door. They wouldn't let anybody in while we were there.
Mm.
If there were people there, they just let them finish eating and then, let them leave. But they would watch who was coming in and out. And we sat there, no tablecloths, oh, you want Chinese, you want fried rice with that? This is really phenomenal. And John would say, bring us everything, and then bring another table over and we would just like have all this food.
And I understand Yoko showed you her office in the Dakota.
She did show me her office. I was very impressed. I'd never seen so many file cabinets in all my life.
Mm.
It was like the FBI. I say the FBI. It's like I'm in the Pentagon.
So
did she have
Nancy,
a file on you?
She had a file
Nancy,
on everybody.
Sorry, Colin.
Truly,
Nancy, I'm sure something people would love to know is you saw both sides of John Lennon. John Lennon on the West Coast in the Lost Weekend with May Pang, and then John Lennon back in situ at the Dakota with Yoko. Yeah. How do you read John's character in those two different periods? And just generally, how did you assess John Lennon's character?
When John was in LA, those 18 months with May, he was on fire creatively. It's phenomenal what he got done and how brilliant he was, from David Bowie to Harry, although the Pussycats album was sort of how do you say, debacle? Yeah. It just, yeah. But everything else that he touched was, in fact, Harry lost his voice on that album. And then when I saw him in the Dakota after going back like a year later and having the baby and seeing him so clean and sober and happy, I don't know. I love that John too. I love them both. I mean, I was happy for him there, but he was cocooning himself then. You know, he hadn't done Mind Games, was it? I think he did while he was after that. Yeah, yeah. You know, amazing. Just a chameleon.
Yeah.
It's like
I
adapting
think
to.
cooking in the Kitchen of Love was the last thing that John did before he Double Fantasy in 1980. So 4 years later, so that was the last thing he did together with Ringo.
Yeah, yeah. Cooking in the Kitchen with Love. It's a great song.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
Did John
We've
ever
written that
talk to you
song.
about the gremlins in his life, like his childhood?
No.
Okay.
No. No. John, I never knew him, with me anyway. Probably maybe with May, he discussed it. But with John, it was all about the music and all about, you know, let's get a burrito, let's go here, let's go there. And it was all, you know,
Yeah.
one thing after the other to get to the music.
Nancy, I can't allow you to call Pussycats a debacle. I'm sorry. There's many rivers to cross, and save the last dance
Oh,
for me.
yes. I'm sorry. I don't mean that as that. I think of Harry losing his voice.
I thought that kind of adds to the atmosphere, though.
It did. It gravelly did. It did.
Yeah.
It did. Thank you. I stand corrected. I haven't listened to it in 40 years. You know, so I've got.
Yeah, it's just that the last track, "Rock Around the Clock," is a bit of a mess. But other than that, I think it's a pretty fine album. Loop the Loop on side 2, very good party song, sing along. Mucho Mungo, Old Forgotten Soldier.
Yeah. Those two guys were like sad sacks together, you know. I mean, they loved that. It was almost like they might have been soldiers in the 40s, you know, or the teens on the front line, and they would sing songs together. Yeah, I take that back.
Okay.
Like I said, I haven't heard of it. I haven't listened to it in 40 years. I just remember all of the madness that was going on around it, and forgot about what came out of it. But I remember them having to fly to New York and see a doctor for his voice, because John was having him screaming at one point, and all of a sudden Harry's voice cracked.
Literally,
And
Yeah.
Harry had a voice like an angel, didn't he? I mean, just
Oh my
incredible.
God.
Like Nilsson sings Newman when he covers Randy Newman songs. Just
Oh my
amazing.
God, a little touch
Great
of
record.
sweetness in the night. I mean, all of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Mm.
My favorite thing was a couple of times we'd be late in a piano bar, and Harry would just sit at the piano and play, you know, and the waiters and everything, the cooks would come out and just stand there while he played and sang. It's just like, makes me cry.
I think again, true immortality when he was featured in the Midnight Cowboy soundtrack.
Yeah, and he didn't write that.
No, it was Fred's Fred Neil.
Yeah, but so perfect for him.
So Nancy, can I take you back to 1979? My favorite George Harrison album is this one. You and Ringo have any memories of that album?
What's the name of that album?
It's just self-titled. It's the one with "Blow Away," "Love Comes to Everyone," "Faster," "Your Love Is Forever." You don't know?
Here Comes the Moon.
Here Comes the Moon.
Yeah, you know, I think we were moving at such supersonic speed at that time. Is that 79?
Yeah.
Did you say? Yeah, I think we were moving at such supersonic speed at that time. It's like for me anyway, it didn't I have no memory of it.
Okay. How
Just
about
going back to the Bad Boy album, 78, I just want to congratulate you on that album cover, because when I first saw that album, I thought that the cover shot was done by Hypnosis.
By Hypnosis?
Yeah, I don't know,
It-
just something about the composition and the style and
yeah,
so
it's
on.
brilliant.
How did you come about to create that one?
We were sitting every night in Monte Carlo. We had on our on the balcony. We're 33 floors above, and we used to watch everything. We had like these high-powered binoculars, and we would watch like, oh my God, there's a Rolls Royce on top of that boat, that yacht. And then you would go, Jesus Christ, there's a helicopter on top of the Rolls Royce on this one. It was like these these Arabs that were coming in with their yachts. We loved it. We loved to watch what was going on. So we would sit out there every night around sunset, close to it, and have a split of champagne. And he was sitting there, and I was opposite him, and I had my camera in my hand, and he just had the glass, and I just looked at it and I went, oh my God, what a shot. If ever there was a bad boy, this is almost like ring a ding ding baby, Rat Packy kind of thing. And then when we would always shoot, because back then there wasn't digital. We would always, when we get home, I'd bring all the film back to LA and put it into my lab, and we get it back in slides, get the carousel out, make some pasta and some dinner, have our friends over and go, well, this is our trip, in France this last couple of months. It's like a couple of an old couple. And I set up the slide trays, and that came up. There were several variations of it. That came up, and everyone went, oh, wow, that's like a movie. That's epic. And Richard said, that's the cover. He said, that's the cover.
Yeah.
Because this song Bad Boy is an old tune by Satchmo, the horn player. And he loved getting old recordings, and it's such a great song. And he and Harry were so hooked on it. I'm such a bad. He put it on the album. Boy, yeah. All dressed in fancy clothes. So that's where Bad Boy came from.
And how bad a boy was Ringo?
We all know that. I mean, he's been whitewashed. I mean, let's take it from 74 to 80 until he met Barbara Bach. All of that is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's even. I've almost been erased, but not quite.
The albums that he made during that period have been slightly brushed under the carpet as well, haven't they? They haven't been reissued. They're not on Spotify. Do you know anything about that? It's a strangely forgotten period. No.
Yeah, I've never gotten any residuals.
So you definitely need to write a book and then have a movie made out of it. We would certainly be buying.
Oh my God! From your mouth to God's ears.
so?
I'm working on a book right now.
Oh, cool.
Good. That's great to hear, Nancy. Nancy,
Yeah.
from having seen you in many interviews, I just sense you're just so kind and generous to all the people you've met along your journey.
Oh.
And especially one Richard Starkey, I'm sure. I mean, it must have been quite tough those 6 years. What do you think? What do you think Ringo's kind of gremlins were underneath?
I think just like everybody else, insecurity.
Yeah.
Insecure, I mean, I remember him saying to me once, he said, he was a manic depressive.
Yeah.
Sort of like, I made him a little button that says, I'm a manic depressive. If someone came towards me, you'd point at it and go. But his downtime was, he would get quiet and read a book. And those are my favorite times, because when he wasn't quiet and being homey, and he was raving. I mean, Harry Nilsson, I used to say, I'm going to put a sword through your heart, go away.
Yeah.
Go away. Harry, Keith Moon. I mean,
Yeah.
when those three would show up, sometimes they'd say, come on, we're all going to go, and I'm going, you guys go, I'm going to stay home, because I knew what was going to happen. They'd wind up at Hefner's house, and God knows what happened there, and he would be gone for like 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours. They're just rave.
79 was a landmark year for Ringo. He was seriously ill at the start of the year. His Hollywood house burnt down, I think, towards the end of the year as well. What are your memories of that whole period in 79?
Your sound went kind of fuzzy. What, 1979 during what?
Yeah, I understand Ringo was seriously ill intestinally. And then later on, his house burnt down towards the end of the year. So it was a very difficult period. His annus horribilis, maybe, many ways. What do you remember about that time and how Ringo was?
I was I was pulled back a little bit, and he said, "Well, I'm going to Monte Carlo," and I said, "Well, I'm not going with you." And it's funny because Monte Carlo was the one place that was it wasn't LA, it wasn't New York. You couldn't go and score anywhere. And I get a call from Hillary, his best friend manager, who also lived in who traveled with us everywhere, Hillary Gerard. And he said, "You've got to get on a plane and get here right now. He's in the hospital." And I went, "What do you mean?" He said, "It's his stomach again," because he had peritonitis when he was a child.
Yeah.
And they said something's acted up with his intestines, and he said, "You better get here now." So I immediately threw everything in a bag and got to the airport, put on a plane, and got there. And they had taken like 6 feet of his intestines out.
Oh, no.
And they said, you cannot drink. No more brandy for you, young man. And so he said, "Well, I'll just drink wine then." So he said, "I don't want to go back to the apartment." He said, "Let's take a suite at the Hotel de Paris." I said, "Great, fine with me. It's got room service, I can go for walks, and it's fabulous. Let's do that." So we sort of moved into the Hotel de Paris for him to recoup and feel better. And that was a time where he was physically kind of broken for a while there. It was hard on him. And I remember about 10 days later, we were downstairs in the dining room. And I looked at him and I said, "You really want a drink, don't you?" He said, "I'm dying for a drink." And I said, "Well," I said, why don't you have like some club soda and bitters or something?" And he goes, "Are you crazy?" And he said, "I'll have a glass of wine." I said, "No more cognac. I'll have a glass of wine." And I went, I never, hardly ever tried to tell my man what to do. And I said, "Well, I guess one glass won't hurt," knowing that the gates were being opened. So next thing you know, like, "Bring the bottle,"
But he sure is one of life's great survivors. And a few months later, he was well enough to go to Eric's wedding reception at his manor estate in Hurtwood Edge, I think it was. What do you remember about that reception? Because, of course, we have Paul, George, and Ringo. Oh, you didn't go. Sorry.
I didn't go. No.
Did Ringo talk about playing with Paul and George again?
He said it was fun. He said he had a good time. It was fun. They were all drunk and raving. It's probably like 3 or 4 in the morning. That's the thing, it's like I could only take so much of that. I would always find the most comfortable couch in the house. and go to sleep. No matter what was going on around me, I could sleep. I've slept on some amazing couches with him, and then I would be shook, like, oh, wake up, here's a little bit of Coke, let's go.
Do you think was Ringo proud of Paul's success with Wings? I get the impression George Harrison was a bit of jealousy there, maybe, and maybe with Lennon as well. But Ringo, I think, is quite complimentary, isn't he?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I remember. Well, I'm not going to tell you that story because it's in my book. But
right. Advance orders.
There's a very funny story about John and Ringo listening to the Wings album.
Excellent.
All I'll say is that John kept saying, "Oh, it's fucking bubblegum, isn't it?"
I'm curious now as to which album that is.
Not my favorite, please.
Fucking bubblegum.
There's some nice footage of Ringo backstage with Wings, isn't there, from the 70s? Is it the 76 tour?
Oh yeah.
With Harry Nilsson.
Yes, that's right.
Oh yeah, can you imagine what happened there? There's no matter what was going on, whether their wife is boffing one of them or they're boffing their wife or whatever was going on, even with Eric and George. I mean, George had Eric come and play on While My Guitar Gently Weeps. I mean, these guys stuck together. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary because that glue was the music, and that really came first.
Was there ever a point, Ringo obviously got all these ridiculous offers about the Beatles reforming, playing live, etc. Was there any time when he was seriously tempted, more so than others?
Oh, you mean for the four of them? There was a time when I remember they would all call each other and say, well, we're bringing millions of dollars and this and that and the other thing. And George would say, no. And Paul would say, well, I'm on the road. And John would say, fuck them. And Ringo would say, God, I wish we could do it. He was ready to go anytime.
Yeah. And it was always George who said no first by the sound of it.
I think so.
Surprise.
Yeah.
So Nancy, you had a good relationship with Ringo's kids. Have you seen them much over the years since? Or
I haven't. I haven't. No, I haven't. I'm so happy. I mean, little bitty Lee gave birth to triplets, and I'm so happy about that. I mean, she gave birth to triplets. Last time I was in London, I called her. This is like about 10 years ago. I called her and she was out of town. And she said, I'm so sorry, Nanny, I'm gonna miss you. She said, we're out of the country. And I said, that's okay, we'll get together. But I had a great relationship with her kids. His kids. Yeah, no problem at all.
On the gatefold of Rotogravure, on one version there's a picture of Ringo's three kids. And then on my English version, there's a picture of, Colin's going to share it.
Oh yeah.
Ringo stuffing his face or something with chicken. So that's yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is not a flattering shot, is it?
That's hysterical. Oh yeah, that's what we would take Polaroids of each other and put them all in a collage. In the album. Yeah, there's one there also of me and my girlfriend Mary, who's actually going to be here next week. Me and her eating pizza. Yeah, Polaroids. Harry had a song he used to sing. I want you to stand on the chair. Oh, with a Polaroid in my pocket, I'm just a hell of a guy. Boys would make up these stupid songs, and of course it was about photographing a woman nude.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, guys, is there
I'm
anything
aware
else?
that we've spent a lot of
No,
time already.
How long have we been going here?
An hour and 45 minutes.
Holy mackerel!
Or maybe
time
even
is
it's late.
It's been fun. It's been
very,
fun.
very generous of you, Nancy.
Yeah,
Thank
it's been
you.
fantastic. Thank you very
Wow.
much indeed.
Let's go to lunch. Let's go to lunch.
Yeah, next time you're in London,
We'd love to.
we would love to hook up with you and introduce you to some very boring London people. We don't know so
Okay.
many celebrities.
I'm not a celebrity. I'm just a girl here writing my book, and where's my dog?
Yes, I
want you to
noticed her waking up just now. I could see her
she
stretching behind
back
you.
Hey, Val.
And
Yeah.
when can we expect the book out, Nancy?
I don't know. Maybe next spring. Maybe next spring. It's
Cool.
getting my editor and everybody are going like, wow.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the lost tapes, the lost 70s.
Well, it's interesting. Your last book was 15 years ago now, and it's interesting reading the introduction to that. Shows that it's that long ago, because you said, "Thank God for Skype," and of course,
I know.
these days no one uses Skype anymore. I thought that was
I
quite funny.
know. I know. And in the meantime, I did this funny little book for the fans because I was doing a lot of Beatles stuff. I don't know if you've seen this one, the Ringo book, photographs. Yeah. I did that one. And then my friend, who is the head of the Tennessee State Museum for like nearly 40 years, she said, Nan, she said, for 20 years, we've been trying to get this book made. And I think you're the one person that can help us pull it all together. And I said, well, okay. And I'm thinking, some must be a rock and roll archive kind of thing. And I go down there and it's on Civil War battle flags. And I went, are you kidding me? She said, no. She said, for 17 years, she said, all the research and everything. And I said, she said, see, all of those books, binders over there against the wall. And there's like, 4 rows, 8-foot rows of binders. And I went, yeah. I pulled one out and it's all handwritten by the scholar. And I went, this is handwritten. She said, I know you can do it. So I went home, and with my husband, we figured out what it would cost them to have me go in there and do this. They said, oh, you should probably do it in like 6 months. I was down there for 18 months. It was my lost weekend. And it came out in January, and it's already up for awards. It's magnificent. It's like 800, 900 pages. I had guys come in with cherry pickers to photograph their archive of Civil War flag. Yeah, so I've been busy making other books in the interim. But I think the Civil War book is, who knew? I know more about the South, guns, guts, and glory. I cannot tell you. It was amazing.
Well, we look forward to your book, Nancy.
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll cover that.
Thank you. I will get in touch and I'll let you know when,
Brilliant.
because have you guys read Bernie's book, Bernie Taupin?
Not yet, no.
Not yet.
He's given me a little blurb in there, which I sort of went, uh-oh. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Good. So I'm gonna get him to give me something to write on the back of my book. He said, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have a working title for your book, or are you not unable to divulge it at this stage?
I can't divulge it.
Okay.
It's probably
We give a few, actually. We'll cover.
If you have any ideas, let me know.
How about absinthe? How about absinthe makes the heart grow fonder?
And makes the head go balder.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's the subtitle.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you, guys. I had fun. It went fast.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Great to talk
Brilliant.
to you.
We'll see you. Have a good rest of the day. Cheers.